Okay, so in today's lesson, we are just going to revise on some of the quadratics some of you might have trouble with, especially with completing the square and also the difference between just mere factorization and also solving. Okay, so completing the square here would be the main priority that we have to do. Okay, for completing the square, as we know, if we have an example of x squared minus 4x plus 1 equals to 0. Alright, in this case here, what we need to do is that we need to circle the middle term in terms of just the value itself, minus 4. Alright, the trick here is to halve that particular coefficient and square it. So if it's a negative number in front, you take the negative number, you halve it and square it, because whatever number that has been squared will be positive. Alright, logically speaking. So in this case, you write by the side here, half the coefficient and square them. Okay, so in this case we have minus 4, and minus 4, when we halve this particular coefficient, it becomes minus 2. Correct, so we have minus 4 divided by 2, and we also have to square them. Okay, makes sense? Okay, before doing that as well, have a look at plus 1 here. Alright, because we are going to complete the square, we'll try to avoid having the plus 1 over here, because sometimes you may get confused as to which to move over. So before we start the whole process, let's move the plus 1 from the left hand side to the right hand side. So that would be x squared minus 4x will be equivalent to minus 1. Okay, and of course, because we have circled that coefficient, we have already halved it and square it, so it will become x squared, alright, minus 4x plus, how much would that be, you reckon? Minus 4 divided by 2 and you squared it, what would it become? 4, just 4, right? Now, when we have plus 4 on the left hand side, what do we do on the right hand side now? Plus 4. Good, thank you. You add 4 on the right hand side to balance it out. Okay, now having said that, let's have a look at this. This is something right, because if we look at number 4, is actually a perfect square. Make sense? So we can think of it as trying to factorize it into x and also 2 with the square. Okay, because we are trying to factorize it into a complete square. Does this make sense so far? Make sense? Okay. Now, are we going to put a plus or are we going to put a minus in this case? A minus is correct, and that is because if you take minus 2 and you square minus 2, you will get 4. So it does complement with this. Okay, minus 1 plus 4 will give you 3. Thank you. And now we are done at this level. X minus 2, bracket the entire expression and square it, equals to 3. Okay, so in this case here, what we need to do to ensure that our x is the subject that we leave on the left hand side, what do we do to this entire expression first? We have to get rid of the square, and the only way to get rid of a square is to have a square root. Thank you. And when we have a square root on the left hand side, automatically the right will also have a square root. Correct? What is the other condition when we have a square root on the right hand side here? What signs do we have to think about? Plus and minus. Thank you. Okay, So now having said that, we can cancel out the square root and the square. X minus 2 equals to plus minus square root of 3. Okay? So now, we want to make x as the subject. So, how do we get rid of minus 2? Anyone? You add 2. So you have to add 2 to both sides. And if you add 2 to both sides, of course, minus 2 plus 2 will automatically be 0. And you bring over the 2 to the other side, it becomes 2 plus minus square root 3. Okay? So therefore, your solution of x would be 2 plus square root 3, or x is to 2 minus square root 3. Right? Either or. Question here is, do you need to convert the surd form into decimals? Do you need to? No. If they ask you to leave it in the surd form, you leave it in the surd form. Okay? If they ask you to leave it in 2 decimal places, then only you do the conversion, alright? But the whole important thing here is to read the question properly. Alright? Everyone okay with the completion of the square? All good? Okay. I'm going to stop this first because I do not want to go over 30 minutes. It's very difficult to upload into YouTube. Okay? And the next section, we will just go over quadratic, or the quadratic formula. Alright? X equals to minus b plus minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And of course, the b squared minus 4ac is the square root of it. Okay?